If you're thinking about doing a Mediterranean cruise with kids, we've done this multiple times with our 3 kids, and there are a few things we need to make very clear right from the start. Watch this entire video because we're going to share exactly how we plan it, balance it, and make it work with 3 kids. First, the Mediterranean cruise, or really any cruise throughout Europe, is very different than a typical Caribbean cruise. This is not beach day after beach day. There's a lot more walking involved. We've had port days where our kids have walked 10 plus miles in a single day. And for young kids, that's not easy. So as parents, you have to go into this with some realistic expectations. Sometimes we've brought small, lightweight strollers, even when they're technically too old for strollers, because after 8 to 10 miles of walking, they're exhausted. And when you're traveling with 3 kids like we have, you have to think strategically. We also set ground rules early on. We tell them this is not just a sit by the pool vacation. This is an adventure. There will be long days, there will be walking, there will be history. And they understand they have options. They can stay home with the grandparents, they can skip the trip, or they can choose to be part of it. And every time they choose to be part of it. Now don't take this the wrong way. This is actually why we love cruising Europe, because cruising makes it a win-win situation. Our days are packed with adventure, incredible sights, history, iconic cities, but then we come back to an amazing cruise ship, and that ship has amenities, pools, rope courses, kids clubs, food they love, so we make deals. If we're doing an intense cultural day, exploring Barcelona, for example, or walking Florence, climbing around Pisa, we'll often come back to the ship a few hours early, and then it's their time. They go to the pool, they hit the ropes course, they hang out at the kids club. Sometimes we even let them pick one thing at the port that looks interesting to them. And that's how we find balance. That's how we make Europe sustainable for kids. And that's why, in our opinion, adding a cruise to your Europe trip or making it the centerpiece is one of the smartest ways to do it as a family. Now let's talk about where these cruises start. A lot of Mediterranean cruises begin in either Rome or Barcelona, or sometimes vice versa. And here's our advice. Don't just fly in the night before. If your cruise starts in Rome, consider flying in a few days early and really experiencing Rome, the Colosseum, the Vatican, the Trevi Fountain, just wandering those streets. And if the cruise starts in Barcelona, do the same. Explore La Rambla, La Sagrada de Familia, the Gothic Quarter, and so much of what Barcelona has to offer. And if you want to turn this into something even bigger, we've done this too. We've flown from San Diego to London directly. We've spent 3 days in London to explore, and then took the Channel, the train, to Paris. Going under the English Channel is pretty cool, especially with the kids. We've spent a few days in Paris, and then we've flown or taken the train to Barcelona for the cruise. Now your Mediterranean cruise becomes a centerpiece of a 2-week European experience. You could do 3 days in London, 3 days in Paris, 7 to 10 days cruising the Mediterranean, and then 2 or 3 days in Rome at the end. And if you're already crossing the ocean, sometimes it makes sense to make it count. Now here's the mistake we see families make. They treat Mediterranean port days like Caribbean stops. In Europe, the ports are often far from the actual highlight you want to see or explore. Florence and Pisa, for example. If it's more than 20 or 30 minutes from the port, consider a cruise line excursion, especially for ports like Pisa or Florence. We've done it both ways, and I even have a video showing how we've explored those ports on our own. Or use a trusted private guide depending on the port. Build in some serious buffer time. Monaco, for example, is very easy to explore on your own. Walk up to the famous casino, walk the streets, explore on your own is very easy. But Naples, for example, Naples is a great city to explore, but I would suggest getting out to see the Amalfi Coast. And here's the balance piece, especially with the kids. You can absolutely have back-to-back port days, but just be mindful. If one day is a long, intense excursion, like the Amalfi Coast or Florence, make the next day a little shorter, a little lighter. Stay close to the port, come back to the ship early, keep it manageable. The balance is what keeps the trip enjoyable instead of exhausting. And every so often, the kids will need a day to reset. Let's talk about Naples. We've done Naples, we've done Pompeii, and we've done the Amalfi Coast. And in our opinion, if you're docking in Naples, choose the Amalfi Coast. Naples is a great city. Pompeii is absolutely worth seeing at least once, but the Amalfi Coast, Positano, the cliffs, the drive, it's unforgettable. Because of the distance involved, this is one port where I strongly recommend a private excursion or doing a cruise ship excursion. It gives you timing control, it reduces stress, and in Europe, timing matters. We'll link the tour guide we personally recommend in the description below. Our private guide, Luca, was awesome, and we visited each stop well ahead of our fellow cruise ship passengers on cruise line excursions, and had a lot more time at each stop to enjoy. After a big excursion day, we love using a sea day to reset. We sleep in, we'll do some pool time, the kids club if they want to, relaxing. That reset is what keeps the trip enjoyable instead of exhausting. Barcelona also is one of our favorite ports, but here's a lesson that we've learned. Always have a backup plan when it comes to transportation. If you're doing a hop-on bus, the trains, or the taxis, know how you're getting back to the ship. Traffic can be really bad in Barcelona, and buses break down. Europe runs on its own schedule, so build in buffer time and don't try to cram everything in. It's better to leave wanting more than sprinting back to the ship stressed out, especially on Sundays. A year or so ago, we learned that on Sunday, a lot of taxis, Ubers, are taking their siesta and not working, making it very difficult at times to find transportation. Gateway ports like La Spezia or Livorno, this is where you may only be able to do one or the other, especially with La Spezia, because it's farther from Pisa and Florence, and it's gonna force you to decide what to visit, what area you wanna go to. We've done both, but it's a marathon, and we had about 4 hours in Florence and 2 hours in Pisa, and it didn't feel rushed. An hour or so in Pisa is really all you need. Here's what we'd absolutely do again. We'd fly in at least 2 days early if crossing the ocean. When you fly west to east, you land most of the time in the late afternoon. It's tempting to go to sleep, but my suggestion, stay up until 9 or 10 o'clock, your normal bedtime, go to bed at a normal hour, and wake up at a normal time. And we found that our clocks adjust pretty well after that first night of sleep. Explore the embarkation city. Try to find a hotel that has a rooftop pool or any pool. That'll make your long days exploring more fun for the kids, to give them an hour or two to have fun in the pool before dinner. Ports that are far from the main attraction, consider a cruise line excursion if you don't feel comfortable going on your own. Do some type of excursion, because it's a shame to travel that far and not spend a little bit more money to see some amazing sights. Quick timeout. I just remembered one thing Erika reminded me of, and when we go on a vacation, we usually do something kind of unique, or actually Erika comes up with a unique thing, and that's like, for example, this last trip to Europe, we had this Polaroid camera, and Erika and the kids were shooting Polaroids at all the stops, and so it was something very simple and something that really got the kids excited about all the places we visited. And there's a number of creative things you could do like that. Creating scrapbooks, creating Polaroid books. So something like that I think is also another way to keep the kids engaged and excited about the trip. And one last European tip, be aware of pickpockets in busy areas like train stations or major landmarks. We've never personally had an issue, but we did see in Venice last year, a local woman started to yell what we assumed was pickpockets, and as soon as she yelled, calling these people out, they disappeared, and it happened so fast. It's something you should always be mindful of. Keep your backpack zipped. Don't leave phones hanging out of your pockets. Just stay aware of your surroundings. And I've noticed in places like Paris also, sometimes younger individuals will approach you trying to be overly helpful, offering directions or advice, and they're just looking for that quick moment to catch you off guard. So again, it's not common, but it can happen quickly. And if you do have a long day exploring, follow it with a lighter day. Be sure to wear comfortable shoes every single day. That's so important. I'll link some of our favorite travel items in the description below, especially for Europe. Be sure to build in rest. Don't overpack your itinerary, and sea days are a great way to recharge your body. After doing multiple Mediterranean cruises with our 3 kids, we can confidently say this is one of the best ways to experience Europe as a family. You get iconic cities, you get structure, you get flexibility, and you get a floating home base. And if you're planning your first Mediterranean cruise and have questions about the itineraries, Rome versus Barcelona, or extending your stay with London and Paris, drop them in the comments below. I will be updating and adding more videos about individual cruise ports, so be sure to check those out, subscribe for more updates, and turn the notifications on. We're happy to share what we've learned, and thank you again for watching, and we'll see you on the ship.